Amused to death. My experience with the adventures of Batman and Robin for the Super Nintendo. Where do I begin with this one? So, the adventures of Batman and Robin for the Super Nintendo. And there's actually, the reason why I say Super Nintendo version is because as well, there is a Genesis version that is a completely different game. So keep that in mind when I'm talking about this game. If you ever played the Genesis version and all that other sort of stuff, do not think about it as a Genesis game. Think about it as a Super Nintendo game, because that's the only version I'm talking about in this video, specifically. So, let me tell y'all the build-up / the lead-up to this game, because this is, like, I think my most recent Batman experience in my entire life, in terms of Super Nintendo. Right? So, what makes this game a game? So, I remember when I was sitting on my bed one day while Louis was on the PlayStation, and I remember I was listening to, Danny Elfman's Batman music, because that's the Batman music I sit and listen to when I'm preparing myself for a Batman playthrough, because obviously I am the Knight, I am the Bat, I am Batman, okay? I am literally OG Batman, as you can see. That's a joke, by the way. Don't take that seriously. But anyways, right? I always listen to the music preparing myself for a new playthrough. And I remembered I was Google researching all of the Batman Super Nintendo video games, because there's way more video games for Batman in terms of Super Nintendo than there is for NES. Because there's only 2 officially licensed NES games. Meanwhile, there's like 4 to 5, licensed Super Nintendo Batman games, right? And I was like, okay, let me look at each and every single one of these. And some I've already played before, like Batman Returns by that point, I've already played, so I don't need to worry about that one. It was, I think it was Batman Forever and The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Now, when I first looked at this game, I wasn't going to play it immediately, but the fact that I found out that there's more than 2 to 3 Super Nintendo Batman games at this moment, I remember I was kind of afraid, because I'm remembering what, Batman NES did to me, which I was nearly there for 4 hours. So that's, a little traumatizing for me. And then I was also thinking about, like, how the second game was, and I was like, oh God, I'm wondering if it's going to be more of this. Like, we're going to go back to this style of Batman. Like, what is it, right? Or are we going to do a beat-em-up like Batman Returns, right? What are we doing, right? And The Adventures of Batman and Robin, in terms of gameplay, is a weird hybrid between Batman NES, Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. It's a weird hybrid between those 2 games, and then a mix of, like, the Return of Joker in some aspects, because a lot of these levels, every level in this game is based off Batman the Animated Series, right? And I barely watched Batman the Animated Series, okay, at this point. I mean, I've watched a few episodes and maybe a few movies with Louis from the Animated Series, but I haven't really sat down at this point and watched each and every single episode. And I was, I was like, maybe people in the comments can show me, or maybe people can tell me about, like, maybe some of these episodes. I don't know if it's the first 8, but anyways, right? I was not into the game yet, but I remember I also was doing my research on The Adventures of Batman and Robin, right? Because obviously, I don't want to go into this game completely blind, right? So I packed up a lot of my information. I decided to be the Bat, look up stuff up on Google, and see how many levels there are in this game. Because I remember asking Louis how many levels there were in a game. Last few times he's made the mistake and told me the wrong numbers, and kind of led me on and led me into a longer playthrough. So instead, I did the research. And also, Louis didn't hold me on Toy Story, thank God, because, he was right on that one. But we ain't talking about Toy Story 3 here. We're talking about Batman, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. So, I got into the game. I found out there is 8 whole levels in the game. As well as, like I said, the gameplay is a mix of NES Batman because of the multiple gadgets, but it's also a mix of Batman Returns because it's also a beat 'em up game with multiple sections leading into the bosses. Now, what makes Batman the Return, or not Batman the Return, the Adventures of Batman and Robin so damn bad? Well, everybody who's played the game at least made it an hour or an hour 10 or an hour 20. I took over nearly about 3 hours to beat the game. Mainly because I was struggling a lot on these goddamn boss fights and level design. And I want to show you particularly the level design because I want to show you how bad these level designs actually are, in my honest opinion. And I don't mean this to be mean, but if you do really love this game, love this damn game. But I'm just saying, for someone like me that came in for the first time in their entire life to play this game, I don't ever want to come back to this one. Not even Batman Returns. Alright? I think I would rather play Batman Returns again over this one. That's how bad it is for me. Playing Batman Returns. Or not Batman Returns. See, I keep saying Batman Returns when I don't mean that. God, I hate it here. You know? So, one of the worst levels, right? We're going to start with, like, Joker. Alright, what is so bad about Joker, right? So, he does have a mid-boss. But one of the worst things that I feel like people would barely understand going up against Joker and stuff in this game is how to damage him at first and all this other sort of stuff, right? So, after the end of the level, which the level itself is not too bad, but the boss is weird. Because obviously you can loop him like this, but not a lot of people are going to know that, right? In the beginning of this fight, too, he's basically throwing these projectiles that you need to punch and kick back at him to deal damage, and that was one of the most annoying parts. And then also what made this game annoying is since you're on a small roller coaster, you barely have any place to go, any place to move, and Joker can just end you really quick. And by the way, another thing that makes this game awful is there's no health bar to indicate if the boss is dead or near dead. It feels like survival gauntlets every single time you play one of these levels, and it's not good. But anyways, it's really not good. And I remember the Poison Ivy level, which is level 2, right? You have to navigate around these tree branches and shit. You have to do, like, all this stuff to get rid of those girls for a minute, which you can't permanently knock out or get rid of fully like other bad guys. You have to kind of just, like, knock them out, make sure they stay down, and just do your thing, which 90% of the time, a first-time player is not going to figure out how to permanently knock them down, which I remember I forced myself to use the Batarang. I thought the Batarang would help me, but no, it only stunned them and made those ladies down there way more annoying than ever before, right? So, let me move on a little bit to the boss fight, right? So what makes this boss so bad, right? Right here. You're against Poison Ivy, all right? You're thinking, all right, not a whole lot going on, right? What's going to be so bad about this? This monster thing has 3 attacks. It swings its giant vine, and then also the flower on top of it shoots out poisonous little ball things, right? And if you don't make it to this boss with good health, I can guarantee you won't last long. The only way to kill this thing is to have it open its mouth to deal damage with your Batarang and by the way, dealing damage with your Batarang is the only way you're getting close to it, like that close to it, or even be safe, have a safe range to hit it and all that other sort of stuff. And if you don't hit it in its mouth, you will not deal damage. And this fight can drag on for a really long time if you do not know what you're doing. And again, I argue this, since there's no health bar against this boss, you don't know when you're truly going to kill it. And it gets faster and faster, as you can see over here, over and over again. and as well as also Ivy comes out and shoots random poison darts or something at you every now and again to kind of stop the fight and drag its pacing. So if you're new to this game, you're gonna get your ass whipped by Poison Ivy, man, and it's not a joke. I thought Poison Ivy was a joke. Fuck no, not a joke. So this is level 3. This is Penguin's level, right? So when you go in here and deal with this level, you're not going to know to bring the flashlight, right? And basically the reason why the flashlight in this level is important is because if you go in there without it like I did, basically what ends up happening is there's going to be basically the ground. You have to jump every 3, 4, 5 seconds because the flashlight helps you see basically the mines on the ground. There's mines in every room of this place, and they're kind of sporadically spread out. And I'm telling you, bring the flashlight, because also Batman in this game has gadgets that he can use and equip to himself each level that can help him out do these levels a little easier or make them harder depending on what items you choose, right? But the game never tells you what items you can choose that will help you on the level automatically. You have to figure that shit out your goddamn self or look up a playthrough like I did at times, right? So, anyways, other than the mines that made this level bad, what makes this level really tick, right? So basically, other than the mines, right, you have to save these people. So this is a rescue mission of saving like 4 or 5 people, right? And you're going through these similar ass rooms over and over again, going to A to B floors, right? In elevators going up, down, left, right, all over the place to find 3, 4, 5 different people. And I remember I was losing my mind in this place, mainly because I am not good with navigation, people. I am truly, and I mean truly, not good with navigation in video games. I hate it, and this is something I'm really happy that Batman Returns did not do, is add anything that Batman would do, like puzzle solving, or technology solving, or all that stuff, right? Because keep in mind, again, I am not good with that stuff. I am good with left to right gameplay, all right? Simple, extremely simple gameplay. And yes, I am good at certain 3D sandbox games, but that's 3D sandbox games in a certain way, okay? That isn't like, for example, that isn't like this game where you go left, right, and then you get lost, right? Trying to figure out in this hotel penguin bullshit what to do. And I remember it was getting so bad, I tried asking Louis for a playthrough because I thought a playthrough could help me. But then, Rat Dance, welcome to stream. Professor Ed Wendo, welcome to stream. My bad for not saying nothing. Princess Unicorn, welcome. And Thomas, also welcome. Anyways, as I was saying, right, was the fact that this level was really making me lose my mind, right? I thought a playthrough could help me. The playthrough wasn't helping me in terms of the game. I couldn't just stop and watch because I was also trying to, again, do this myself. And I don't want to stand there for an unnecessary amount of time to figure a lot of this shit out, right? And the level itself was so bad that not only I was losing myself in the process, but I told Louis after over an hour of trying to go back and forth, trying to find the last dude, and then also the last dude so he can give me the password so I continue the level and beat Penguin up, I couldn't do it. I could not beat level 3 in the adventures of Batman and Robin. To the point I said, Louis, I'm going to reset the game and I'm going to ask for a password. Because I'm done with this shit, right? And after me being done with level 3 and just completely quitting, mainly due to how long the level would take me, as long as someone like somebody else, I remember I legit wanted to give up and just move on to the next stage. And yes, in this game, just like Mega Man 7 for Super Nintendo, new sub, thank you, Rat Race, I appreciate that. You can actually use passwords to skip full levels if you do not want to do them. But the risk of using a password is you lose all of your resets that you gain throughout the playthrough if you're playing really good. You're limited to like 1 reset, basically kind of like you're starting the game over again like it's a new game, and the difficulty is automatically set to normal if you also use passwords. And if you're playing this in easy mode, they also have a difficulty setting. Yes, they do. You can do that. You can toggle that shit in your options, right? You can do that in options, and you're just straight up fine. But anyways, right? And anyways, that penguin level takes way too fucking long. It's a horrible level, and I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. It's such a bad stage, right? So after that stage, we go to stage 4, Tail of the Cat, right? Tail of the Cat is basically and obviously Catwoman's stage, right? And throughout this stage, you're following Catwoman. You get into mini scruffles with her throughout the entire stage. Again, keep in mind, no health bar. She has all of the same moves and then an extra kick from like the Batman Returns video game. So she's just as much as a bitch in that game than she was in, in this game than she was in the other game. And honestly, I remember again, I was losing my shit because I barely had any HP against Catwoman, and trying to dodge most of her moves for me, since I'm not a pro player at this shit, sucked absolute balls. It wasn't fun. It was just nightmare fuel, a nightmare that was being elongated and extended to an extended length. And I remember you don't just fight her once in this level, you fight her 2 to 3 times. Also running from her because, it's a chase, so you have to do the chase section and stuff and all that other mumbo jumbo. And it's not good. In my honest opinion, it is not good, right? I absolutely hate it. And then you fight her in the dumpster here, which is probably her worst fight. Anyways, so this is the next level, level 5, Trouble in the Transit, right? So this is a Batmobile level. I need to explain myself. The Batmobile. So, it is not well known, but if you've ever watched any of my Batman Arkham gameplays or videos from the past few years, you would know that I dislike the Batmobile. When Batman's in the Batmobile, I dislike it entirely. And this game is no different. Now, I did make an exception for one level. I think it was in Batman Return of the Joker for the second NES game where the Batmobile, you were just doing a shoot 'em up little section and it wasn't too bad. All you needed to do was drive right and left, shoot enemies that were in your lane, and that was it. It was the simplest Batmobile gameplay of all time, right? And with this Batmobile gameplay specifically, this is like a top-down perspective Batmobile, and you have to turn right and left, shooting the enemies on a lane, but in a top-down perspective. Now, what makes this more annoying is that the controls on the Batmobile for the Super Nintendo are absolute shit, at least in terms of turning, because you have like 4 ways you can go. So trying to turn with the Batmobile was a kind of a pain in the dick, shooting the enemies is kind of a bitch, and then trying to reach Two-Face made this extremely painful. And I remember I asked Louis because I saw the Batmobile, so Batmobile for me is a no-go. I don't enjoy the Batmobile in 90% of Batman games, and I know a lot of people might come and tell me that the Batmobile is a portion of Batman's character. It makes Batman, and it's like, fuck the Batmobile. There's a lot of Batman games that is Batman without the fucking thing, so why the fuck is the thing here in level 5? So anyways, I asked Louis, I said, I'm not dealing with this. Literally, I'm not dealing with this. And I'm not going to do all that, right? Screw trying to figure this level out with the Batmobile. I'm just going to start on the next one, right? So, basically, after this level is level 6, right? Level 6, Perchance to Scream. Right? This is Scarecrow's level, and Scarecrow's level is annoying as shit. Let me tell y'all, right? So I'm going to rewind a little bit, fast forward or something like that. I can't remember the words. So one of the things that is extremely bad in this game is the possessed human beings from Scarecrow, because they'll run up and they'll grab you, right? Their whole goal is to run up and grab you and basically stop you, right? Over and over again. And honestly, for me, I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know you can spray them. So you make sure you spray them with your bat spray, and they'll go down instantly. But if you don't know that, literally, they are immune to your punches. They are immune to your kicks. You can't damage them because Batman doesn't hurt innocent people, right? So basically, what ends up happening is you get grabbed, which I got grabbed a billion times, and they hold you in place while a thug that has a gun or a thug has a pistol, like or I think it was an AK, something, an AK, or a guy with a pistol, or a guy that runs up and beats your ass with the hands will come up and beat your ass and take so much health. You have to fucking wiggle the fucking left and right stick on your Super Nintendo controller. I'm using a PS5 controller for this example. You have to freaking move your shit left, right, over and over and over again to get the fuck out of the hold. And later on in the level, there's going to be like poison gas that covers 90% of the screen. And if you don't crouch in time to save yourself, you will take damage from the poison gas. And if you don't take out the dudes that love to grab the possessed human beings, the possessed human being combined with the poison gas and combined with the guy that shoots, it's basically game over, bro, for your health bar. You might as well retry the section level because it's that bad. Oh, and by the way, when you die in certain intervals in the game, you restart the whole level. I know it's 21 minutes into the review. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but anyways, as I was saying, let's move on from this, right? So this level is long as shit. There's also a section when you get on the Batmobile, because Robin, or the Batwing, because Robin comes in with that and basically has you fly around, and you basically repeat some of the Joker shit where he throws, Scarecrow has these random fear toxin balloons that you have to punch and kick to get out of your way, or avoid by moving left and right and jumping over other ones that you think is possible to jump over. So you have to deal with that a lot, right? And then another thing, once you get on Scarecrow's blimp, you're wondering, do I go right? Do I stay left? You know, and you have to go right? And this was one of the parts that confused me the most in the entire game on level 6, because the game, again, never explains anything to you. Probably if you had the fucking manual back in the day when this game first dropped, they might have explained some shit. But since I don't have a Super Nintendo guide on this game, you're going to have to deal with shit like this. So once you reach all the way to the right on the blimp, you're going to be wondering, okay, how the fuck do I get across now? Do I jump off the ledge like 90% of players are going to start first? No, basically what you do is there should be a little gray little keyhole thing on the edge, right? And you grappling hook that shit. And basically you start grappling hooking over and over, or swinging over and over again on the blimp, over and over again until you reach the other side. So you can get in the window for this last segment right here and beat everybody's ass to the best of your ability in here. And then the boss fight with Scarecrow happens, right? You're on top of this little mini plane where basically he has a gun attack that shoots in 3 directions, and then he also has another attack. Now, you can use your Batarang to stun him, and then absolutely punch him and kick him to death, right? And I know a lot of people say these bosses are easy, but if you're playing this for your first time, it's about to be nightmare fuel because you don't know how far he's going to go. You don't know how long you can go until you can figure out how to loop him over and over, and it just makes this boss extremely annoying to go through and deal with, right? So let's say you deal with Scarecrow. What's the next level? Level 7, right? This is, riddle me this, was easily one of the worst levels in the entire game, and I'm going to explain why. You can see in the picture here what this is. If you guessed it by now, this level is a maze level. I remember I was already losing it at the Scarecrow level, level 6. And by the way, keep in mind, there's 8 levels in this game. So, level 7. I bet you can imagine what the fuck I did in this stage. And by the way, for the Batmobile level, I skipped that one too. If I didn't mention it already. This level, I skipped almost immediately. Because I didn't realize it was a maze until the screen went on and Riddler started talking. And I saw a map in the top right corner of the screen. And I sat there and I was like, no, the fuck they did it. This is a maze level. Get me out of here. Now, I am horrible at mazes. I never liked mazes as a kid. I never liked them as a 23-year-old man. So, whenever you put a maze in front of my face, I am asking to leave the maze immediately. Matter of fact, I will probably never complete the maze because I hate maze levels. I don't like going the wrong way because every single time I've played a maze level in a video game or most mazes in a game that isn't fucking Pac-Man mazes, I'm fucked immediately, man. There is no fun to be had in this level, in my opinion. Which is why I said, Louis, you better give me that fucking code to skip to the final level. Level 8. Please have me skip. I am not dealing with the Riddler. Fuck him. Fuck everything he has about him. And I bet you this is probably the longest level in the game for most players. And his boss fight is weird too, but we won't show that because we didn't do it, so it just makes sense. But anyways, so what is the final level of the game after Riddler? We'll see right now. Hold on. Let me get something going. So basically, the final level in the game is called the Gauntlet. And the Gauntlet basically has you fight not every single boss in the game, thank God, because 90% of gauntlets that I've ever done, aka Mega Man gauntlets, Super Luigi RPGs gauntlets, aka boss rushes and all that other sort of stuff, most boss rushes / gauntlets have you refight every single boss in their particular order all over again. And that's what I honestly thought when they said the Gauntlet. But no, you only face 4 to 5 bows, which range from Joker, I think, was the last boss in the Gauntlet. But you deal with fuck, I'm trying to remember. Give me a minute. All right. You deal with Penguin first, right? So Penguin is first. Then you deal with Clayface, right? Which I didn't fight Clayface, so I don't know what level he's from. Then you deal with Catwoman, right? Then you deal with Man-Bat, which was a fucking bitch. Absolutely despise that. And then you deal with Joker, which Joker is the final boss, which he's extremely simple, by the way. I actually liked Joker's fight here more than his regular one. But anyways, his first phase anyway is better than the other ones. But anyways, then Joker tries doing his usual stuff, and then after he's beat, you basically get the end credits, like congratulations, you did, all stages cleared, all that other sort of stuff, right? So, again, Batman, The Adventures of Batman and Robin, right? From the bosses and gameplay I showed off, it might not be too bad, and this might be one of those examples that you have to play the game yourself to really understand where I'm coming from. Because, keep in mind, I have never heard of this game until this year. I have never played this game until this year in my entire life. So imagine all that gameplay with rough level design that I have no idea how to counter or no idea what gadgets to bring to make the playthrough 10 times worse. Boss fights, you don't know when exactly they're going to end, or you don't know the looping strategies to most of the bosses in the game. You have mazes from Riddler, you have Joker's, amusement of death, roller coaster ride bullshit. You have Poison Ivy's poisonous plant chicks that just fucking want to murk you all the goddamn time. Clayface, Penguin's level in level 3. The fucking Batmobile, section with Two-Face and Clayface, probably. You have fucking, the Catwoman bit, which is fucking awful. And basically, like I said, 90% of this playthrough of The Adventures of Batman and Robin for me was absolute pain. I think the games, for me, stopped being fun, I think, after level 1. I remember even level 1 was taking me in my Batman and Robin full playthrough, or The Adventures of Batman and Robin full playthrough, not Batman and Robin full playthrough, but took me like over 20 minutes to finish because I was so confused on what you do with Joker, and that was basically 90% of my playthrough that I put myself through when I played that Super Nintendo game. And I remember by the end of that game, I literally told Louis, I am never touching this shit again. Thank God I'm out that fucking nightmare. And Louis, can you make that 3-meat trio pizza that we have in the freezer for tonight so we can eat it and have a good time? Because, holy fuck, I am like, I am exhausted. And keep in mind, I was in my closet on the floor, by the way, crisscross applesauce that entire 2 to 3 hours with no bathroom break in between, no drink break, because I had to keep playing the goddamn game for a playthrough. That was definitely going to be a one and done. But I can tell you this. Now that I'm finally done with the game, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to play that bitch anymore. And can I honestly recommend this to anybody who wants to play The Adventures of Batman and Robin, who want to have a decent experience at a game or wants to have a game based off the animated series? There are better Batman animated series video games out there than this piece of fucking fuck. And honestly, the only reason I would say don't play it is because if you are going into this game without a guide, or if you're going into this game without a walkthrough, you are definitely about to get fucked. It's no question. You're about to get fucked. Probably worse than me. But I'm just saying, please, for the love of God, when you play this game, please don't make the same mistakes I did, aka not have a walkthrough on your fucking left the entire time you play, or, make sure if you have a friend that knows how to play this game, ask them to hook you the fuck up and all that other sort of shit. But if you don't have any of that shit, stay away from The Adventures of Batman and Robin. It is not a fun game. All right, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to practice the bitches and the stages and all that shit. It is a fucking mess. Anyways, I'm done. I've been ranting on about this game for 32 fucking minutes. Fuck The Adventures of Batman and Robin. That is a fucking crazy mess of a game. I know I'm swearing at the end, but I'm really trying to just bring it down a bit in terms of my anger and all that other sort of shit in the moment, because seeing that shitty fuck-ass game again almost made me want to blow up 10 times more just seeing that piece of fuck. But anyways, again, I do not recommend, unless you really love games like this and you love Batman. If you're an extremely hardcore Batman fan, check this game out. But if you're just looking for a Batman Super Nintendo game to play, I'd probably recommend you play another one, because, or I'd probably just recommend the Arkham series again, like I said in my last review, because, let's be honest, the Batman Arkham games are the golden boys of the Batman games. These Super Nintendo ones are pretty alright. Even though I don't like those games as much as everyone else does, I gotta admit, they're a lot more fun to play, or at times they're a lot more fun to play. For me, it's a little different. If you saw my review, you would know. But anyways, I'm out. Fuck The Adventures of Batman and Robin. It is not a good game for me, and I would never come back to this piece of shit. Actually, I'd let that piece of shit burn in the fucking fire for all I give a damn.